Yes, I'm sure you've heard of the dead internet theory. However, it doesn't really address the thoughtless use of AI by humans. I have come up with a new, different theory, and the dead internet is only step one. I call it the human Cent-AI-pede theory. And you know it's real, and you have to trust me because I'm wearing this absolutely legitimate doctorate coat. Like any good scientist, I am going to present my biases right up front for you. I am an artist, a creator, a writer, and I depend on the decades of skill that I've spent working and honing in order to build a career and make a living. So, yeah, the answer is that AI in general makes me pretty angry. Obviously, this will color my opinion, so please proceed with that in mind. The human brain is about as amazing as it is infuriating in terms of how it functions. And the reason I bring up the lizard brain is that I have to acknowledge that by nature, humans are always going to look for the easiest path to something. And it's my opinion that it's this instinct to find the easiest route towards something desirable or educational or financially viable that puts us at risk of abusing AI. Also, let's not lie. Learning a brand new skill often involves a lot of repetition and monotony because getting good at anything requires a ton of practice, right? Unfortunately, our amazing brain tends to filter monotonous, repetitive information, which is why we literally have a mode called autopilot, where you can't remember if you locked your door or you don't remember that you drove home even though you were in the car and you're now sitting in your driveway. And let's face it, creative skills in the artistic domain, music, crafting, visual art, literature, that takes a lot of skill to be good. Anyone can be bad at anything, but to put forward a product or a piece that is moving or powerful or pick your adjective, that takes a lot of skill. It does. And some people have an easier time grasping skills than other people. However, nobody is gifted naturally from the beginning. Everybody who's good at something practiced. So please never ever tell an artist, wow, you're so gifted. They're not gifted. They worked really hard. You should instead say, you're so skilled. And hey, I think we all know that life is a little rough right now, and we could all use more hours in the day to have fun and do hobbies instead of having to work just to survive. But just because you don't have time to get a skill doesn't entitle you to having that skill. Like, I don't think this is a secret. This is literally how human society works. If somebody has a product or a service or whatever that you can't do for yourself, then you have to pay for it or trade or whatever. You have to make a deal that benefits both of you because art is highly intangible in terms of what it actually is, because often art is part of other things. It's hard to quantify, and therefore people find it hard to assign value to it, even though it clearly has value, or else you wouldn't need to cheat to get it. I definitely remember feeling sort of bitter during those lockdown days because everybody was just gobbling up books, shows, games, and it's like, gee, I wonder who made all of that stuff. And yet, I wonder why, as soon as everything was open again, it's like everybody just forgot. I could go on, but I don't want this video to be a million years because I want you to keep listening to me. Now, in this creator economy, things work a little bit differently. You have all kinds of different platforms that monetize the content differently depending on what you're doing. We all know that the only way that any of those platforms are able to monetize anything is through advertising. Now, stick with me here. Just for anyone who doesn't know, the only way that creators online can get paid on any platform is through eyeballs on advertising. Basically, the number of people who are seeing the ads and who are clicking those links. And, before the internet, it was commercial breaks on TV, on the radio, in newspapers. This has always been the way. Now, a lot of creators like to diversify how they make money because it's just a good idea to be safe. And they are giving you either a product like merch or a service like a course. Why do you think there are so many courses out there? Because it's one of the only ways that a creator can make money outside of advertising is by providing you with something. I know this might feel like I'm getting too much into the details here, but stick with me just a few minutes longer. I promise this is highly relevant to my highly academic, very refined theory. So we all see how the ads work, right? Like on YouTube, you get mid-roll ads. Instagram, you get sponsored posts in your feed. I think TikTok is the same. And on websites and stuff, like just generally, you have sidebar or top or bottom banner advertising. Some websites like Amazon, they're going to be advertising their own products in that sidebar, but many websites make their money to continue running their website by having other companies pay to advertise on their site. It's pretty straightforward, right? Yeah. So in YouTube's case, because they're actually run by Google, it doesn't need the creators themselves to know what to advertise to you. If they want to do that, that's what sponsorships are. But the mid-roll ads that allow all creators to get paid, no matter if they're sponsored or not, are done by Google to align with what the person watching that video is most likely to want to see based on their web browsing behavior. All right, let's get into the theory, the human Cent-AI-pede theory, TM, patent pending. There have been studies recently that show current internet behavior is that people are using ChatGPT as their primary search engine more than Google search. And obviously, something like that is going to make Google absolutely panic. And that's why they're pushing their AI Gemini on you so freaking hard. It's taking up the entire top of the Google search now. Like, you can't even see links anymore unless you scroll. Here's the problem. Remember how I said that the human brain likes to find the easiest path to something, basically, no matter what? Well, the way that ChatGPT and the Google AI Gemini works is that they summarize information that they have scraped from the larger internet and it gives you an answer. This has become very popular, and I do believe that this is why ChatGPT has surpassed Google, is because instead of having to think of the right way to phrase a question to get the right results, you can just ask the question directly into the engine and then it will sort of do the hard work for you. So, boom. And look, I have to acknowledge that a huge part of this problem, in spite of my rather snippy, sarcastic tone at some parts, is that people don't understand exactly how a large language model works. They don't understand when they're using something like Sora or OpenAI to generate artwork, and I'm going to explain why I'm using generative AI in the biggest quotation marks ever, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. So, is it fair to be angry at people for their naivete and the fact that these companies are taking advantage of the lack of understanding of what's actually happening in the software of these models? I mean, I think it is fair because you're an adult, you live in the present, you should be doing the correct amount of research to know when some company is manipulating you. And the answer is almost always like, have you been living on this planet? This is how capitalism works. This is where I'm supposed to go into the next section, but I actually saw a video today that made me want to put it into this video because it feels extremely relevant, especially considering what I just talked about. It's from the YouTuber Louis Rossmann. He is an incredible man doing the good fight, really walking the walk for right to repair and consumer rights in a world where companies want you to own nothing and be happy about it. And they also don't want you to be able to fix anything that you do manage to own. And so you should absolutely check him out. I'm definitely going to put his channel in the description. So thank you, Lewis, for letting me borrow this video to kind of enhance this point a little bit more.
Like, I started this website, consumerrights.wiki. At first, it was on my main private business's domain name because it was paying for everything. It's got thousands of articles about all these different companies. And around the same time that I added this wiki, going over all these practices from all these different companies to my website, my private business just fell off Google. It's just not there anymore. If you look me up for some of the primary services that we offer, we just don't exist. We used to be like between number 8 to 20 on Google for this. And now, I don't even show up. That's going to seriously fuck me in the next few weeks.
Some of you may be thinking right about now, well, Google has been using AI to sort their search results for years. That's not new. And social media algorithms, that's AI too. Yeah, of course it is. There's a very big difference between the type of learning model that tracks data and allows us to better understand things like, even if we don't like it, things like audience behaviors or demographics. They're not making anything new. They're not making anything. Remember that. When we say generative AI, it's not generating anything. All it's doing is spitting out what it's already been fed. One last thing before we deep dive into the human Cent-AI-pede theory, and it is kind of a big one. I'm asking you to listen to this story and just hold on to it for the rest of the video because I think it's sort of the perfect analogy to understand what's happening. You go up to a library, you need some information. Let's say you need an essay written about, pick your topic, whatever's good for you. And you don't want to go into the library because you're very busy and it will take a long time to find all the books you need. So you walk up to a man who's outside the library also, and you say, here you go, here's 50 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever you're going to pay for the AI apps. And you say, I need an essay, a project, a whatever about this subject. Go make it for me. So the man takes your money, he goes into the library, he finds all the books you need very quickly. Then he opens the books, copies all the words down, word for word. Maybe he jumbles them up, maybe he doesn't, but he's only copying stuff down. There's nothing that's coming out of his head. He's literally only copying stuff directly from each of the books that he pulled. He puts all the books back, he comes outside, hands you the essay, project, whatever, says, here you go. I wrote this. I wrote this for you. Did he, though? Did he write it? Just in case I really need to spell it out, ChatGPT is the man, and you are you. Similarly, if somebody eats a very nutritious meal and then vomits it back up into a cup, hands it to you, and says, here you go, here's your delicious, nutritious meal, are you going to say, yeah, that's absolutely a nice cuisine, finely cooked meal? Or are you going to say, that's someone else's vomit? Everybody needs to stop pretending that what you're getting out of Not-so-generative AI is some kind of cuisine and not somebody else's vomit on a fancy plate. Now I present to you my diagram. Please don't make fun of me for my bad art, okay? I felt that if I drew it any better, YouTube would really not like that. So stick with me though. I promise I'm going to explain it and it'll make sense. So just to quickly go over it, as you can see here, we have ChatGPT and Google AI sitting in the front here. We have you in the unenviable middle position. And here we have, I initially wrote future internet, but right before I started recording, I crossed out internet and wrote humanity because based on what's been happening, what happens on the internet is slowly becoming reality. I mean, the president of the most powerful country in the world named his missile programs after frickin' memes from 4chan in 2015. Anyways, in seriousness though, I do fear that reality will begin warping and bending as more and more information is misguided and misunderstood and often just straight up made up, straight up lies, straight up untruths, just everywhere, all over the place. So, right now, the human Cent-AI-pede is in a room filled with delicious, interesting foods, okay? I selected a few different things from my collection. However, feel free to imagine whatever food you like. Although maybe you shouldn't imagine food you actually like based on what I'm about to go into. This is the current state of the internet. As people create, they write, they make videos, they make visual art, they make tutorials, they do all kinds of everything that goes onto the internet, okay, is delicious food. And for all those years, people have been munching on the food and using the inspiration that they got from eating that food to make new, exciting, delicious cuisine also, right? So we can have the conversation, okay, about how nothing is actually original and everything is derivative, which is true. If you're going to make that argument to me, then you're missing the point. The point of art is to take what exists out there in the world and then use yourself and what's inside of you to inspire others by taking those pieces and building upon it, right? So, just in the same way that somebody has somebody's grandma's famous recipe, but it's a secret, they can still eat the cookie and understand what's in it and replicate the recipe, even if it's not exact, right? And once they've perfected that recipe, then they go out and they make their own family secret cookie recipe. You follow? Unfortunately, AI, like ChatGPT and Google's Gemini, cannot taste the food and then use that to make new food. They can only regurgitate and throw back up what they've already consumed. So basically, as we go on with all these AI movies, I know Evil Pinely just covered some AI film festival. I haven't watched the video yet. The idea of an AI film festival makes me too depressed. As these things continue and AI becomes more and more of the artistic content we get on the internet, we just get shit. We don't get new food. We get shit. I mean, I don't think anybody is arguing with me that AI can't make anything good, even though it's convincing in some cases. It's getting better, obviously. It's not good. There's no soul. You can't have a soul when you're not creating something and you're only throwing up other people's hard work. And then you have people out here legitimately arguing that they love this vomit that they've created because ChatGPT told them that it was pancakes or maybe a donut. But It's not a donut. It's shit. It's more shit. It's always shit. Now, you might be thinking, well, this only applies to the people who are using, those apps that actually make this garbage. Well, no, because every time you use ChatGPT, Google's Gemini to ask a question and then just read the aggregate answer and close the window, you are actively harming all of the creators in the spaces that you support. How? Well, remember how I explained to you that the only way that any platform can make money outside of offering a product or service is through advertising? Well, if nobody is clicking on links anymore because Google is taking up the whole freaking screen with its AI, and those are just scraped answers from other people's links, which are now buried, there's no money going in because no clicks, no eyeballs, no money. It's that simple. The fewer and fewer impressions that a website, a platform, a person gets, the fewer and fewer people, businesses, sponsors will be willing to work with them. They won't have advertisers on their site anymore, and they're going to go under, and then no one will get to enjoy it. If you're asking it a question about something that isn't just like 2 plus 2 equals 4 or like what year did something happen. Just remember that you're not ever consuming somebody's content. You're consuming regurgitation right there. So, yeah, every time you use Chat GPT as a search engine, just think, yum, 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 vomit, nom, nom, nom. But it gets worse. Yeah, that's right. It does get worse. See, what happens when there's no more food left in the room? What happens when, due to lack of reach, due to lack of people's ability to pay because the economy is bad, and the only other way to keep a website up if you're not advertising is, you guessed it, subscription money? Well, not only are you just left with a room full of shit, but there's more. There's a domino effect. I actually first started thinking about this topic because of a Fantano video that I saw. He was interviewing somebody. I'm so sorry. I will put the video in the description. And she was talking about how their online magazine had to switch from free to paid because they weren't getting enough advertisers. And this is in a huge part because of ChatGPT and Google AI removing people's need to click on things. And so not only did they piss off a bunch of people who don't want to pay because it used to be free, but now like they're in a even worse, more precarious place because they're losing fans over a decision that absolutely isn't their fault. It's big businesses taking an even bigger slice of the pie when they already have the entire freaking thing. And what's the domino effect of this? Well, let's take the music example. If we don't have people writing music journalism, doing top 10 lists, seeing new bands and writing up reviews, people examining the value of old music, of the music of different cultures. If we lose all of that because suddenly nobody can afford to pay those people, so they have to go do something else that will pay them, people aren't going to be able to discover new bands as easily, and people won't be able to even have as easy access to any band's information unless they're willing to do it themselves, and that's unlikely. If bands aren't able to reach a bigger and bigger fan base, then they won't be able to tour. If they can't tour, then that's not just venues that aren't getting any business, but it's also all the techs and the roadies and the management. Those are all people who need to get paid to do a job. And if there's no demand because people don't know that the band exists, the venues close, the tourism dollars dry up. Do you see how this is just a huge avalanche waiting to happen? And that's just one example. Also, like, you don't need me, I'm sure, to go into the unfathomable amount of other ways that AI development is hurting everybody. Not only is it causing complete psychosis in people and using up the water of a small country for every 5-minute video it generates, but it's leading to illness. There's acoustic illness that is coming from the data centers because they're so massive, and there's, sound waves from all the buzzing and humming, and yeah, I'm gonna link stuff, but also, um, the hardest thing of all to talk about is the deaths that AI has resulted in. I personally don't think I'm equipped to talk about the way that ChatGPT has caused the taking of their own lives of several teenagers, and I believe several adults as well. However, there is an excellent YouTuber named Dr. Caelan Conrad, very academic recommendation, and they've done some incredible work, some heart-wrenching work. I really respect them into the victims of ChatGPT and how these models are not safeguarded, how they're meant to toy with the human mind to keep people using them. It's sick. These companies think it's okay to sacrifice a few lives, people's health, the world's water, just so they can pocket a few more bucks. It's just, it's shit all the way down, isn't it? So, with this theory, we've established that AI cannot cook any new food. We're carrying on with the food metaphor. If AI cannot cook anything new, it can only consume, what do you think is going to happen when all that's left in the room is shit? And it's happening already. ChatGPT is literally eating shit that it made and then is vomiting up that shit for you to consume. Does that feel good to you, really? I'm pretty sure the actual term for this is model collapse, but that's not very fun or exciting. Point of saying all this is to plead with you to stop using ChatGPT and Google's AI as a search engine primarily. That is the first step. I'm also pleading with you to not use the generative artwork from AI that was exclusively built on things taken from people with no regard for their copyright. And like I said, if you don't stop, if you don't start encouraging other people to stop, then the LLMs and generative AI are going to take the jobs of all kinds of content creators. And that's what you're going to be left with. And sure, there will always be hobbyists who are doing it for the love of the game and providing content for free, but that's really not the same as somebody giving you full-time content. In conclusion, only thing that capitalism understands is money. And that's why you have to stop. You have to turn off the AI and start using the internet, because if you don't, everything you love is going to slowly disappear and turn into shit. And look, I know it's being shoved in our faces from like literally every direction. They want us to use it. They want us so bad to love the AI. So you have to make an active choice not to use it, even when it's the easiest thing. I know it's hard, but the easy thing and the right thing are not always the same thing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm hoping that those of you who stuck it out enjoyed and learned something today. And as always, better be staying happy and healthy because you're worth it. And I do really hope that you'll join me for my next video where I'll be replacing every floor in the house with trampolines.